If you've ever felt like you're navigating a psychological minefield in a relationship, be it with a partner, a friend, or a family member, this is for you. If you find yourself perpetually questioning your own reality, exhausted from an emotional vortex, or bearing the weight of someone else's happiness, your attention is required. We are about to dissect 8 toxic relationship patterns that countless women endure, often for years, until the psychological cost becomes too high to ignore. We will show you how to identify them, not just in romantic entanglements, but in the friendships and family ecosystems where they thrive in plain sight. First on the list, and one of the most insidious, is the weaponization of emotion for manipulation and control. This isn't the collateral damage of someone having a bad day. This is strategic. It's the friend who, upon your declining an invitation, replies with a sigh and says, "It's fine, I'll just go alone. I'm used to it," leaving you to marinate in a pool of guilt. It's the partner who counters your attempt to set a boundary with a theatrical display of tears, framing you as the aggressor for protecting your own energy. Or the family member who recites a detailed ledger of everything they've ever done for you as a preamble to a request you were not comfortable with. The genius of this tactic lies in its ability to weaponize your greatest strength, your empathy. You aspire to be a good friend, a loving partner, a caring daughter. They know this, and they leverage your compassion as a tool against you. Decision-making deteriorates into an emotional war zone. You stop asking, "What do I want?" and begin asking, "What will generate the least conflict?" Over time, this systematically dismantles your decision-making architecture, leaving you feeling powerless and consumed by resentment. The second pattern is gaslighting. The term has entered the popular lexicon, but its truly corrosive nature is often underestimated. Gaslighting is a form of psychological warfare, designed to make you second-guess everything: your sanity, your memory, your very perception of reality. It is poison administered in microdoses, each one deniable in isolation. It manifests in phrases like, "I never said that, you're misremembering," or, "You're being overly sensitive, it was a joke." In the case of our friend from the introduction, the manipulator might pivot by saying, "You're not really upset that I canceled. You're just projecting stress from work onto me." Instantly, the focus is no longer on their behavior, but on your alleged overreaction or flawed memory. This tactic is deployed across all relationship types. The objective is to destabilize you, to erode your trust in your own judgment. And when you can no longer trust your own reality, to whom do you turn? To them, the very architect of your confusion. They position themselves as the lighthouse in a storm of their own making. It's an incredibly potent and devastating methodology of control. Pattern number 3 is a persistent, strategic erosion of your perceived value. Constant criticism. This is not constructive feedback. It is a relentless campaign designed to chip away at your self-worth. The toxic individual in your life appoints themselves the judge of your existence, and the verdict is invariably negative. They critique your fashion, your manner of speaking, your career ambitions, your choice of friends. Frequently, this is cloaked in the guise of humor or a backhanded compliment. Think of a partner who says, "It's quite brave of you to wear that dress," with the clear subtext that it's unflattering. Or a friend who remarks, "Wow, I could never be as relaxed about my career as you are," implying you are lazy or unambitious. In isolation, a single comment is easily dismissed. But in aggregate, they form a pervasive chorus of disapproval that you begin to internalize. You start to view yourself through their hypercritical lens, and may even re-engineer your personality to chase their approval. An approval that, by design, will be eternally withheld. Let's be clear. The goal isn't your improvement. It's about their control and their need to feel superior, which stems from their own deep-seated insecurities. It's an emotionally taxing process that can annihilate your motivation and self-esteem. Number 4 is the blame-shifting paradigm you can never win. In a toxic dynamic, accountability is a foreign concept, A person who externalizes all blame is a master of mental gymnastics, skilled at convincing you that you are the origin of the problem. They were late because you failed to remind them. They raised their voice because you pushed their buttons. They were unfaithful because your efforts were not meeting their needs. The narrative is brutally consistent. Their transgressions are merely a reaction to your inadequacies. You are made responsible not only for your own emotional state, but for theirs as well. An impossible and draining mandate. This is destructive because it places you in a perpetual state of defense and guilt. You find yourself apologizing for things that were not your fault, simply to restore equilibrium. You start to subscribe to the fallacy that if you could just be better, more patient, or more perfect, the relationship would finally stabilize. But you are not responsible for the actions of another adult. This tactic is engineered to keep you trapped, trying to solve a problem you did not create. The fifth pattern is subtle, but profoundly painful. Emotional neglect. This is defined not by overt cruelty, but by a chilling and profound absence, an emotional vacuum where support should be. Emotional neglect is when your feelings are consistently dismissed, ignored, or invalidated, making you feel invisible and utterly alone. This is the partner who defaults to scrolling their phone while you are attempting to be vulnerable. It's the friend who responds to your anxiety or sadness with a dismissive, "You're fine, just think positive." It is the family member who abruptly changes the subject when you broach a difficult topic. Your emotional landscape is treated as an irrelevant, inconvenient truth. There is a complete deficit of empathy. Over time, this conditions you to believe that your emotional needs are irrelevant. You cease to share. You cease to reach out for support because the effort is futile. This fosters a deep-seated loneliness, even when you are in the same physical space. A healthy relationship should be a safe harbor for vulnerability. Here, you are taught that vulnerability is a liability, and you begin to construct walls to protect yourself from indifference. Number 6 is a particularly dangerous maneuver: isolation. This is a classic control strategy where one person strategically severs you from your support network, your friends, your family, the people who provide perspective and reinforcement. This rarely begins with an overt directive. It is a campaign of subtle sabotage. They might complain that your closest friend is a bad influence. They may instigate a conflict every time you have plans with family, making the social effort so exhausting that you begin to preemptively cancel. They might demand access to your private messages or interrogate you about your social interactions. The underlying message is non-negotiable. Their relationship with you must be paramount. This is often framed as a token of intense love, with phrases like, "I just want you all to myself." This is one of the most perilous patterns because your support system is your lifeline. These are the individuals who can offer an objective assessment and remind you of your own identity. By isolating you, the toxic individual establishes a monopoly on your reality, making them the sole provider of your social, emotional, and psychological input. Escape becomes exponentially more difficult when you believe you have nowhere else to turn. Number 7 is a pattern that can ensnare individuals for years: financial abuse. This is the leveraging of capital as a tool for domination and control. While most prevalent in romantic relationships, it also occurs in family structures where one person monopolizes all financial power. This can manifest in various ways. It could be a partner who controls all joint finances and delegates to you an allowance, a fundamentally infantilizing gesture. It could be someone who actively prevents you from obtaining or maintaining employment, or even sabotages your career. They might accrue debt in your name without your knowledge, or force you to justify every single expenditure. The objective of financial abuse is to engineer dependency. By controlling your access to resources, the abuser ensures you lack the means to become autonomous. You may feel completely cornered, convinced you cannot survive independently. It is a masterclass in stripping an individual of their sovereignty, locking them in a toxic situation by making escape feel not just emotionally difficult, but financially impossible. Finally, our 8th pattern is weaponized silence, also known as stonewalling. This is not a meditative, healthy cool-down period. It is a passive-aggressive form of punishment, where an individual ceases all communication to manipulate and control you. When they are displeased, instead of engaging in dialogue, they simply excise you. They will not respond to calls or texts, and may refuse to even make eye contact in the same room. This is a punitive act, engineered to provoke intense anxiety and make you desperate to resolve the situation. The silence is designed to compel you to pursue them, to capitulate and sue for peace, often for a transgression you don't believe you committed. Once you have sufficiently apologized and their sense of power is restored, they will graciously resume communication, all while the core issue remains unaddressed, postponed until the next inevitable conflict. It is a manipulative power play that teaches you that their emotional comfort is superior to communication and resolution. If these patterns resonate with a discomforting familiarity, it is critical you understand this fundamental truth. You are not the architect of this dysfunction. Toxic behaviors, particularly manipulation and gaslighting, are engineered to create confusion and to make you internalize blame. For many women, tolerating these dynamics is a conditioned response, perhaps learned in a childhood environment where this was normalized. You may have been taught that self-abnegation is a prerequisite for love, or that true connection requires enduring pain. Recognizing these patterns is the first and most potent step you can take toward breaking the cycle. The journey to reclaim your sovereignty and erect firm boundaries is a challenging endeavor, but it is an entirely achievable one. An excellent starting point is to confer with someone you trust, an objective party outside the dynamic who can offer an unclouded perspective. If this video provided value, please consider subscribing for more content on building powerful, healthy relationships. If you feel comfortable, and it is safe to do so, share your own experience in the comments. Reading the stories of others can be incredibly validating and serves as a powerful reminder that you are not alone in this fight. Remember, you are worthy of relationships that act as a multiplier for your well-being, not a tax on your spirit. You deserve respect, validation, and a love that feels like a fortress.